I've tried to figure out why I've become so ill. There's a variety of reasons. Some of it's associated with this familial proclivity for depression, no doubt. But I don't believe that it was a consequence of, certainly not of that tour. I mean, and I've always liked my whole life. Since I was 25, I've gone flat out. I like that. I like to live like that, to work 15 or 16 hours a day, flat out. And I mean, I did learn how to do that, I thought, and be able to sustain it. And so, no, my health wasn't 100% on that tour. That was probably a prodroma for everything that happened later, but I really don't think it had anything to do with the tour.
I'm Dave Rubin, and joining me today is a clinical psychologist, a lecturer, an author, and perhaps most importantly, a man who truly changed my life for the better, Dr. Jordan Peterson. Welcome back to the Rubin Report.
It's really good to see you, Dave.
Gosh, well, we connected for about a minute before we started this officially, and you said, boy, it's been about 2 years. We've texted a little bit. It's been a crazy 2 years, it goes without saying. So before I get into any of the meat of this, and I want to talk obviously about the new book and everything else, I think what's on everyone's mind more than anything is, how are you? Just how are you?
Well, I'm at home and I'm working about a third of the time, I would say. I'm working hard on my podcasts and YouTube discussions, and I can manage about 2 hours of work a day. And so I'm not in the hospital, and I'm sharp again, reasonably sharp again, trying to write again, planning a new book. We'll see how that goes. It's nice to be back. It's nice to be doing these discussions. I've talked to lots of interesting people over the last couple of months. Douglas Murray, Ayan Hirsi, Gad Saad, Ian, I'm going to forget Ian's last name, McGilchrist. He wrote the Master in his Emissary. So I'm working a bit. And I have this new book coming out, as you mentioned, and that's coming out on the 2nd of March. So that's interesting and exciting and stressful, all of those things.
Yeah.
I hope it's well received. I can't evaluate it. I'm too close to it to evaluate it.
Yeah, well, I have no doubt that there will be plenty of people evaluating it, and you've already sort of dove back into dealing with the media, so all that stuff is kind of coming. But obviously over the last 2 years, so much has happened, and it feels like we're in a different world and everything else. And so many people, they ask me about you, they ask me about our time together and the tour and everything else. And truly, for me, when people ask me about it, or just when I think back to that year, I mean, we did about 120 stops in almost 20 countries. You did a bunch more that I couldn't attend even after that. It feels like a dream to me. Like that year, it was so intense and wonderful and magical and sometimes stressful, sometimes tiring, whatever it was. But it was just, in the summation, it was just wonderful. What do you think back on mostly about that?
Well, it seems like a dream to me, too. The last 2 years have been mostly hospitals for one reason or another. And I suppose it's partly dreamlike because of the vast contrast between 2018 and then 2019 and 2020. I mean, that tour was an amazing experience. It was so positive, apart from the odd press blast, which were islands of negativity in a sea of what was positive. It was really something to travel from city to city and to talk to all those people. And yeah, it was an amazing experience. And I'd certainly like to do it again if I could gather myself together. I know Tammy too had she thought it was a great adventure. And I thought, we worked well together, you and I. It was nice to have some levity associated with all the seriousness. That's a good combination if you can pull it off. It was so nice to see all those people who were trying to put their lives together, and such a remarkable range of people. I don't want to use the word diverse because it's been completely poisoned, of course, but there were every sort of person in our audiences, and they'd all come together for positive reasons, as far as I could tell. It sure felt that way. it was so nice to meet people too, and they were always so friendly and welcoming.
Yeah.
You say, I've been so fortunate in the response that I've received from people who've watched my YouTube videos or listened to the podcast or read the book. It's really sustained me, kept me going.
Yeah.
It was great.
It was.
It was a ridiculous experience. It was unbelievable.
That's it.
It was unbelievable.
It was a ridiculous experience. People ask me this too, and I actually don't have a good answer for this, but beyond just the occasional hit piece and the strange things the New York Times enforced monogamy thing and the rest of that, was there anything negative? I mean, there was some emotional stuff that was happening, and obviously you found out that Tammy was ill, and thank God she's better now, and you were having some...
She says hello, by the way.
Oh,
Dave.
Please send her my love, mine and David's, please do. But beyond some of that, the hit piece stuff and some of the health stuff that you started to deal with and that Tammy was dealing with, do you remember anything that was negative? I truly don't. It was like every day that we went somewhere, it was more love, more people putting their lives together, and the stories, just the incredible stories that we heard everywhere.
Yeah, well, and we did the meet and greets afterwards, and I also really liked that. I only had 10 to 15 seconds with each person or couple or family, whatever it was, but that was all extremely positive too. So no, I mean, I've tried to figure out why I've become so ill. There's a variety of reasons. Some of it's associated with this familial proclivity for depression, no doubt. But I don't believe that it was a consequence of, certainly not of that tour. I mean, and I've always liked my whole life. Since I was 25, I've gone flat out. I like that. I like to live like that, to work 15 or 16 hours a day, flat out. And I mean, I did learn how to do that, I thought, and be able to sustain it. And so, no, my health wasn't 100% on that tour. That was probably a prodroma for everything that happened later, but I really don't think it had anything to do with the tour. Now, all the controversy that swirled around me, that's a different thing. That has been extremely stressful, and I don't really know how to calibrate that. I watch people on Twitter, and if they say something and 20 people mob them, that's usually enough to really set them back on their heels. And generally people apologize and, make things worse often by doing that. But it doesn't take many people to go after you before it has a real pronounced emotional effect. And, that happened a lot. And it was somewhat, I can't really understand it exactly, why it happened so much. And I'm sure that had some effect on me, because when it happens now, it certainly wallops me. We had a run-in with the London Times, the Sunday Times, a while back, and it was unbelievably stressful 2 weeks because of that. Because you never know, of course, how the public is going to respond either. And so far, as I said, I've been so fortunate in people's response to me, but I thought, maybe I've gone to the well of public sympathy one time too many this time, and it was undoubtedly a mistake, perhaps, oh Christ, I don't know, to have talked to the Sunday Times. But I thought I had to talk about what happened to me to someone, and we thought, they're hypothetically staid and reliable, and it's hurtful to me to see these institutions become corrupted. That I certainly take no pleasure in seeing that. It's appalling, in fact, to watch these once great institutions deteriorate into tabloid-style journalism and deceit. So, but no, the tour was great, Dave. I thought, Jesus. I mean, it's complicated because my life got so disrupted, because I was a professor and I had my clinical practice and my writing and a business that I ran as well. And now I'm not a professor at the moment. I'm on leave still, and I don't have my clinical practice. And so I'm adrift to some degree because of that, because that was so much of my life. And then, of course, the tour filled that up. And then, there's a prolonged bout of illness shared, my wife and then me. I'm just starting to come to terms with whatever my new life looks like. I think about going back to the university, but I'm not sure I can do it. And that's very what would you say? I don't know how to think about the fact that maybe I can't do it. I'm certainly not happy about it. It's appalling.
Do you mean because of the physical rigors, or just because you're,
Yeah. Just I don't think I'm reliable enough to take on that responsibility. I don't know for sure, but I'm still very ill.
Yeah. I don't even know how to ask this, but I mean, is there anything else you want to address with any of that stuff? I actually don't want to belabor the point, but if there's anything that you want to get off your chest, I know.
Well, we'll see how it goes. No, I don't think so. I mean, if it comes up while we talk, that's fine. But no, I'm so bored of it.
All right.
It's so dull and appalling that better to talk about virtually anything else.
All right. Well, fear not. I got a couple things.
There is one thing. I guess there is one thing I should address, Dave, really. Well, I've been an advocate for people to put their lives together. And of course, my life has fallen apart. And so you might ask yourself, well, are you aware of the irony of that? And the answer to that is, well, absolutely. It's shameful. I feel that frequently. And then so you might say, and people tweet this out fairly regularly, who am I to give advice? And I suppose that's a perfectly relevant question. I guess I've always thought, and I said this too in the lectures during the tour, that I don't really think that what I'm doing is giving advice, or if I am, I'm also giving it to me. It's not like I believe that I have all the answers. I have answers that I've found useful while attempting to move ahead. And with this new book, I can show you this. That's what it looks like. The black counterpart to the white book, the previous book.
Out today.
I wrote a lot of it while I was extremely ill. And there were some advantages to that, I think, in that I only kept that material that I felt was reliable under duress. Now, I think perhaps my creativity was somewhat compromised, and so that may have impacted the book negatively, but it made for more severe editing. For example, the last chapter is be grateful in spite of your suffering, and certainly maintaining that gratitude is something I've struggled with. I think anybody who's in pain chronically struggles with resentment, but I know that resentment poisons. And I think that form of courage. And so I stand by what I've written.
It's funny. I would hear some version of that. People would ask me when they would ask about you, and they would say, oh, well, he was telling people to get their lives together, and here, look what happened to him. And my answer was always the same with people, which is, well, first off, he never professed to be Jesus. He never professed to be perfect. You actually, and this is one of the things that I think really helped me throughout the tour, you would often address if you were struggling with something. You, from what I saw, virtually every night gave a different lecture every night. And if you were frustrated by something on a given day, you would address it that night if something happened with the media or something was happening personally. And I think people, they see us in these boxes, or people that write books or whatever it is, and they think that we're supposed to be perfect all the time, probably in your case, certainly more than mine. And it's just not something that I ever saw you say about yourself.
Well, luckily, and I'm really stunned by this. I thought the other day I'm going to make an announcement about the book on Tuesday. I think that's March 2nd. And I thought, well, what do I want to say about it? And what I really wanted to say when I thought about it, I thought really what I want to do is thank people. Because, this criticism has come up, and I think it's a valid criticism. It's like, who the hell is he to talk about getting people's act together? I mean, everyone gets ill, and everyone has periods of their life where things are going worse than they might normally go. But people have been, on the whole, unbelievably patient with me, and so I'm not sure why that is. I mean, of course, I'm not sure why any of this is. Another thing I struggle with is just trying to understand what the hell's going on. generally speaking, and why I've become such a target for attention, both negative and positive. Mostly positive, thank God. I don't know how I could tolerate it otherwise.
If you'd like to see more honest and insightful conversations with Jordan Peterson himself, check out our Jordan Peterson playlist, which includes every interview I've ever done with him. And if you want to watch full interviews on a variety of topics, watch our full episode playlist. Both are right over here. And to get notified of all future videos, be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell.